I am Kashi Pandit. I come from Baramulla, which is the northern town in Kashmir Valley. I had my early schooling in Baramulla, but later on for higher studies and for PhD, I studied at the University of Tehran. Back home, I took up a job as a lecturer and then as a reader and so forth at the Center of Central Asian Studies, University of Kashmir, and I rose to become its director before my retirement. I have traveled vastly in Central Asian region a number of times, and I know and have met a vast number of academics, professors, researchers, scholars. In today's lecture, I am going to introduce to you the medieval history of Kashmir, the transition from ancient ethos to new values and new lifestyle, which we call the medieval history. It begins from middle of 14th century and ends up to somewhere in the last period of 16th century. And then we shift on to modern times, the creation of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, followed by the partition of country, story about the partition of the country and its impact on Kashmir, including the tribal attack of 1947 and the sordid story that follows it. Kashmir is a historical region. It has always occupied important place in the history of Central Asia, South Asia, and East Asia because of its geographical location, for two reasons. Primarily because it was contiguous to vast regions, and secondly, because of trade routes which emerged from Kashmir on all the three sides of the region. In the first millennium, Kashmir was developed as a center of Hindu religion and later on Buddhist religion. When these two religions kept their pace of development and progress for a long time, for more than nearly 2,000 years, till in 1339, a new civilization dawned on Kashmir, and the period of transition from one civilization, from one ethos to another began. Kashmir has been the kingdom of Hindu Rajas from the very beginning, and several dynasties have been traced by historians, especially the ancient historians. Of course, the first important Sanskrit work which gives us much information on geography, topography, and relevant matters is Nilmata Purana, which was written around 500 AD. Along with Nilmata Purana, many more books in Sanskrit were written down from time to time, which served as source of history to the greatest historian of ancient times, and that is the Rajtarangani of Kalhan. Kalhan mentions in the introduction to his work that I collected information for ancient history of Kashmir from as many as 6 works which existed till his day. These works somehow became extinct in later times, but thanks to a German scholar who tried and succeeded in recovering some of those histories which are now preserved in Berlin Museum. Raj Tarangani tells us, and before Raj Tarangani, even Nilmat Purana and Chavlakar's history, they tell us that Kashmir's origin is mythical. Kashyapa, the grandson of Brahma, worshipped for a long period of time, maybe nearly 1400 years, to God. And finally, there was the divinely command that Kashmir, which was a lake and called Satisar, was desiccated of water by Varah Avtara striking its trident at Baramulla and making an opening in the mountains from where water ran down. And that is the place now called Baramulla. Baramulla is the name of the place where the mountains found an aperture and water flowed down. The river, which traditionally and in the words of Nilmat Purana or Raj Tarangani is called Vitasta, but it is given the name of Jhelum by the Punjabi historians because the name of the place where it joins the river Satluj is called Jhelum. They gave it the name Jhelum. The original name is Vitasta. And in Kashmiri, it's called Vet, which is the abbreviative of Vitasta. The legend is that Kashmir was a vast lake and a demon by the name of Jaludbhava lived in this lake, which did not allow the people, which did not allow water to be desiccated. And finally, after the prayers of Kashyapa Rishi, Sharika Bhagavati was sent in the form of a bird called Mena, what we call Mena. She picked up part of a mountain and dropped it on the head of Jaludbhava, and thus this demon was killed, and simultaneously water began to run away down the river Vitasta and the land was dried. Then Kashyapa invited Brahmins from different parts of India and the adjoining plains to come and settle down in Kashmir. Since it was a cold region for 6 or 7 months covered by snow, these Brahmins initially who came and settled down there would stay there only during summer and leave in winter before the winter set in. So this system continued for hundreds of years, and finally these people found settlement, dried land, and settled around it. The remnant of the Satisar, which you find today, is called Dal Lake, and adjoining Dal Lake is the mountain which Kashmiris, ancient Kashmiris call Hari Parvat. Hari is actually the corrupted form of Sharika, because sh sound and h sound are interchangeable from Sanskrit to Kashmiri. So Sharika became Harika, and Harika's abbreviative became Hari. Hari Parbat is the name now very much common among the ancient people of Kashmir, from whom the Pandits have descended. Several ruling dynasties ruled over Kashmir for a long period of time, right up to 1339. And some of them were very prominent. The construction of numerous temples, tirthas, side by side with Buddhist viharas is to be noted by the ruins which exist in different forms today. For example, the ruin of Martan Temple, which was built by King Lalita Aditya for the worship of the sun god. And sun god was very much prevalent in most of the Aryan lands in Central Asia and elsewhere, even in Iran. Because in Iran it was called Mitra or Mihr, and the title of the last king of Iran, Muhammad Reza Pahlavi, was Arya Mihr, the son of the Aryans. The Martand has that significance, and similarly, there are numerous temples which in itself are remarkable for their architecture, whether it is Martand, Avantipura, Vangat, Patan, Bonyar, and elsewhere. The ruins show that the people or the kings who raised these temples had skilled engineers to lift the huge boulders and stones and raise them into huge monuments. Along with this, the Hindu period's contribution to Kashmir is the maintenance or the creation of various traditions, civilizational symbols, what we may call today. And these are manifest in the traditions which have been held fast by the remnants of Hindu population of Kashmir Valley. Kashmir Valley's original name is Kashmir Mandala, what we find in Nilmat Purana or elsewhere. The importance of ancient history of Raj Tarangani lies in giving place names, names of hills, perhaps all manifestations of nature like mountains, hillocks, rivers, streams, and lakes, and other water bodies, and place names. All of these have been mentioned mostly by Kalhana in his Raj Tarangani. So anybody trying to understand the history of civilization of Hindu period, of ancient times, should try to understand, follow the historical account given by Raj Tarangani. King Ashoka, who ruled from 302 to 325 BC, is reported to be the founder of Srinagari, the capital of Kashmir Valley. Of course, this capital changed its places from time to time, and names also from time to time. The Muslim historians of medieval time nowhere mentioned the word Srinagar. They said only Shahr-e-Kashmir, the city of Kashmir. but in Sanskrit histories, Srinagar is very clearly stated as the capital of Kashmir Valley. The ancient Kashmir kingdom, especially under the rule of King Lalitaditya Mukta, extended from Gandhara in the west to almost Yarkand and Khotan in the north, which are now in the Chinese province of Xinjiang or eastern Turkestan. And to the south, his forces went as far as Gauda, that's Bengal. So this was the great Kashmirian empire for which Lalitaditya is known as a great warrior and a great soldier. Not only for his conquests, but for his administrative measures as well. He has been highly praised by Kalhana and other researchers. For example, he says that he did not want the big landlords of Kashmir to maintain their food stores beyond 1 year's duration, because anybody, any damra or the landlord, a big landlord, if he had enough food in his stores, he would go he would lead a rebellion against the government. He would become an insurgent. Therefore, Lalitaditya said his orders were that no landlord should have more than 1 year's quantity of rice or other food grains stored in his storehouse. The second important order issued by Lalitaditya was that the commanders of the passes, Kashmir has many passes, mountain passes, to come out of Kashmir or go into Kashmir. And these passes have always played very crucial role in the respect of security of Kashmir Valley, Kashmir Mandala. And the outsiders usually used these passes, bribed the commanders of the passes to enter into Kashmir for loot and pillage. Therefore, Lalitaditya ordered that only princes from royal blood will be the commanders of these passes. The pass in Sanskrit, the Sanskrit of Lalitaditya's times, is called Drang, D-R-A-N-G. And Drangbal is the name of a pass which is close, where water flows very closely, as in Baramulla. In Baramulla, the Drangbal is vital, very important, because the Chinese pilgrim and historian, Buddhist pilgrim historian, they have come from Drangbal, via Drangbal from Baramulla. And then the invaders also, like KASHMIR in 1339, who came from western part, is also said to have entered via Drangbal, that pass. Therefore, the passes, once they were forgotten, once their security was forgotten, Kashmir Mandala met with disaster. Therefore, this applies even today. About the society and people of Kashmir of ancient times, we have some records of Neolithic age, and most of it has been found excavated in Burzahom. Burzahom is the name of a place very close to Shalimar Bagh of today. Home is the Kashmirian form of ashrama. Ashrama is changed into home. It's hoped that at Buddha home there were Buddhist viharas, Buddhist ashrams, Varja ashrama, which converted into Buddha home. The excavations found from Buddha home show the instruments of hunting, like the spears, hunting the wild animals, or hunting or fish catching. And then there are other finds. Other finds have been found, mostly made of clay, hard or soft clay, and the tiles in Buddha home have been examined by archaeologists, and they are dated to the Neolithic times. So ancient Kashmirian society mostly lived close to water, where they could get, or forests where they could hunt or get fish. The city of Srinagar, according to Kalhana, was having more than 100,000 houses, 100,000 houses, around about 12th century or 11th century AD. That speaks for the vastness of this city, and it was situated on both banks of river Jhelum for the needs of the people for water. And there are reports that ancient Kashmir often got floods, and many villages which had come up on the bank of river were flooded, inundated, and destroyed. It will be noted that ancient Hindus of Kashmir or Buddhists of Kashmir held great sanctity to water bodies, to trees and natural objects. Most of the tirthas, shrines of ancient Hindus were located close to water bodies, whether it is the bank of Itasa or the lakes, Dal Lake and springs. And Kashmiri word Bal is a prefix placed after a word, place name, meaning a place where water flows close by. For example, we have the Hazrat Bal close to Srinagar, a very important religious place of Muslims, and also a political center. It was in ancient times, this happened to be a vihara, a shrine of Buddhists, and Bal lingers on as part of the word, place name, Hazrat Bal. Hazrat means respected. From 6th century AD, Kashmiris developed a new philosophy under the teachings of various eminent scholars. And this new philosophy, known to us today, is Shaivism, the worship of Shiva. Ancient Hindus held Shiva in great respect and awe as the creator, the preserver, the destroyer. The Trinity included in Shiva's form. And the Shiva philosophy continued down to this present day with great impact on the mind of Kashmiri Hindus. You have recently observed 1 year of Abhinavagupta throughout the country. Celebrations have been held. And Abhinavagupta is one of the greatest propagators of Shaivite philosophy, among other things. And Vasugupta and so many other people who contributed to this philosophy, and it continued right up to the times of advent of Islam in 1339. It was the impact of Shaivist philosophy, Shaivism, that it mixed with the Sufi ideas brought from Iran and Central Asia by the Muslims, and gave rise to a new line of thought, which is called Rishism, the cult of the Rishis. It's very difficult to define Rishism, whether it has the larger impact from Sufism, Iranian Sufism, or from Shaivism, or from both. It's for the scholars to go into research of this phenomenon. Nevertheless, Kashmir, ancient Kashmir, remains to be known for Shaivism and Shaivism philosophy. The interesting aspect of ancient Kashmirian history is that when Buddhism came to Kashmir in the reign of Ashoka, who sent Buddhist missionaries to different parts of South Asia or Southeast Asia, missionaries also came to Kashmir, and they established Buddhist philosophy in Kashmir. The curious thing is that there was absolutely no violence or objection from the Hindus, from the Brahmins, adopting Buddhism as a new faith. Buddhism progressed in Kashmir along with Brahmanism without entering into any conflict. So much so that if the king, if the Raja built a temple to commemorate Vishnu, his wife built a vihara to commemorate Buddha. And both of these went side by side. This is the real story of tolerance, religious tolerance among ancient Kashmiris. In the same way, Rishism and amalgam of Shaivism and Sufism from different parts, two parts of the world, is perhaps one of the achievements of ancient Kashmirian society. I also turn to place names. In Kashmiri language, a place name ending in vihara is said as yard. As we have Ganpat Yar, a prominent temple and tirtha in Srinagar city, it is Ganpat Vihara. The Vihara raised by a Ganapati, by some person, some Raja or a prince named Ganapati. In the same way, we have so many places ending in Yar, which is actually Vihar. So, this is one of the interesting aspects of ancient Kashmirian history, the Hindu history. Thousands of place names which were not known to us until the times of Stein, when he studied and researched, conducted research in Rajatarangani. The Rajatarangani itself did not define those place names, but thanks to this great Hungarian scholar has rendered the greatest service to ancient Kashmirian civilization by going deep into the place names, into the traditions, into the etymology of words, into the origin of phrases. Therefore, any researcher trying to know ancient Kashmir in right perspective has no option but to study Kalhana's Rajtarangani deeply. The contribution of ancient Kashmirian civilization has lasted down to present day, despite cultural transition or transformation which took place massively in mid-14th century and continued for next 5 to 6 centuries. Despite all that, the genes of ancient ethos have continued and remained in Kashmir, in Kashmirian society. That's why even today, while a local Muslim passes through Hazrat Bal, he folds his hands in reverence. Or the shrine worship, which has been conducted in Kashmir for hundreds of years, remains an important ingredient of modern today's Kashmir culture. There is a conflict between the Orthodox and those who want to maintain the ancient tradition. The names have changed, the names of the shrines have changed, the stories have changed, but the ethos remains. The sacrificing ethos is there. Burning the candle or distributing rice, cooked rice, or making some sacrifices to Bhairavas, which is the ancient tradition, these continue in one or the other way. I must speak something about the ruins of ancient temples and shrines. Kashmir temple architecture is a very interesting subject on which work needs to be done, research needs to be done. I was in British Museum in London and I went to see the Kashmir section. I was greatly interested. For 2 hours I stood there, and the curator came to me and he asked me, why are you so much interested? This was the section which represented remains and excavations from Ushkur. Ushkur is the name, ancient name of Baramulla, part of Baramulla, the town. And Ushkur is the name of ancient city which was built by Kanishka, the Kushan ruler, who had raised the city at a distance of about 3 miles east of Baramulla, on the foot of a small hillock. Today, this place is called Ushkur, which is Hovishka, from Hovishka, and excavations have been found there. 2 miles away from Ushkur or Hovishka is another important historical town, today called Kanishpora, which is actually Kanishkapura. And this Kanishkapura is supposed to be the place where the 4th Buddhist conference was held, organized by Kanishka, and a great conference in which well-known Buddhists of those days participated and debated. And it is said that some slabs were inscribed and put under earth somewhere in Kanishkapura or Kanispura of today. In the same way, ancient Kashmirians are known for having carried the teachings of Buddha from Kashmir to Tibet, to Central Asia, and to China. The name of Kumarajiva, you might have heard it, is famous, for he was responsible for carrying it as far as Mongolia and China, and from there also to Japan. This is the contribution. Even in Central Asia, we have found at a place called Penjikent. It's in Republic of Tajikistan. We have the largest Buddha clay statue, which has very recently been excavated and placed in the Museum of Tajikistan. So that was the contribution of Kashmirian Buddhists to the Buddhist studies. In Kashmir, Buddhism and Hinduism and Shaivism lived in entire peace and harmony. That is when we say Kashmir is the house of communal harmony and harmony of faith and conviction, ideologies. That's what we mean by harmony, by conviction, by peaceful coexistence. It's not only in terms of those religions which do not conform to Hindu philosophy. It's within the entire Indian society. Kalana has given us very interesting picture of relations between Kashmir and the rest of Bharat, the rest of India. He has given us stories that at various times scholars who had come from other parts of the country were shown great respect and made the chief priests of the tirthas or the temples wherefrom they propagated the teachings of great philosophers. Kashmir remained a seat of learning for Sanskrit, and some people go to the length of saying that Panini had originated, even Kalidasa had originated from Kashmir. I don't have any evidence to show that, but the common belief in Kashmir is because of the great services ancient Kashmirian people did to Sanskrit and the Hindu ethos. In course of time, because of geographical reasons, as you know, it's a snow-bound area, and the roads leading out of Kashmir Valley are very difficult to traverse. Therefore, Kashmiris brought some of the important tirthas of Bharatvarsha into Kashmir. At the confluence of Dasta and Sindh, we call it Prayaga. Even today we call it Prayaga, to commemorate the Prayaga where Jamuna and Ganga meet. In Baramulla, which I mentioned earlier, we have a Koti Tirtha, a Tirtha shrine where 1,000 shrines are combined. This was to save the people the travails and difficulties, the privations of making a long journey across the mountains and going to Prayaga or going to Gaya. So in this way, they made Kashmir a mini Bharata, a mini India, not having no need. The ashes of the dead people, Hindus, were immersed at Prayaga in Kashmir itself, or at Koti Tirtha in Baramulla itself. That is a very clear symbol how closely they are related to the great Indian ethos. And the stories of Krishna, of Rama, and Mahabharata, and Pandavas, They are embedded in the ancient Kashmirian literature, written either in Kashmiri or in Sanskrit. That is significant in tracing the relations which ancient Kashmir has with the vast civilization of the subcontinent.